Welcome everybody to race 5 of the 2025 OVKA karting season. This is the final of that race. This is supposed to be a night race. As you can see, it is not dark outside. But we were kind of in hurry up mode because it did look like it was going to rain a lot of the time in the day, and rain was actually forecast. So we were trying to, push ahead and try to get the racing in while it was kind of dry. So I qualified on the pole for this race day, and the pre-final, I am pretty positive that I just took off and stayed in first and ran the whole race in first place, and didn't really have a whole lot of action. But also my Insta360 X4 was not charged up, so as I was sitting on the line for the pre-final, I hit the button to record and had no power whatsoever. So fortunately, it charges up pretty quick. I was able to get some battery life put into it. Actually got all the way up to 82% before the start of this race. So I was able to salvage some salvage the day and get some footage for the fabulous YouTube channel here. So we took off. I got a pretty decent start there, but the 22 comes blazing up on the outside, which is typical. I like the outside for that reason, itself. You can usually get a good run on the outside. Now right there, I semi-pinched him a little bit, but I still think I had room to give him. It was all happening so fast. I talked to him after the race. He doesn't necessarily know why he drove all 4 tires off right there. It looked like maybe I was going to come over on him, and he just did not want to really have any wheel-to-wheel contact and get tossed up in the air. So he played it safe and just said, I'm going to cut this corner real quick. It didn't seem to slow him down a whole lot, but I did get a good run out. And so, off the first lap, I think when I looked back at the times, I might have had close to a like 0.7 or almost close to 1 second lead coming around for the first lap. We did configuration B, so that's just one of the short track versions right there with the kind of the medium difficulty last turn onto the straight. You have configuration C, and it's a lot easier because it's you don't have to zig back up into the course a little bit. It makes that last straightaway past the flag stand as a straight shot. At this race, I decided to try something out. I went out in practice, and because this is a short track and the vast majority of the turns are left-handers, I wanted to see how fast I could go if I just drove on the inside of the track. If I took the least amount of distance around, because typically when you come around that turn right there, most people will swing out and go all the way across the track and get on the right so that they have a little wider entrance into this turn right here. But during practice and during my qualifying, during the pre-final, I figured I'm going to try to run this on the inside because it is ridiculously hard to pass somebody if they're pretty fast and they're running on the inside of the track. So I knew it was going to be in the front, after the qualifying, after I won the pre-final. So my strategy for this, and I was pretty, I don't want to say blatant, but I definitely didn't, semi-discuss this with some of the other guys starting towards the front. I told them, I said, my kart is just killing it on the inside, and I doubt if I'm going to drive up off the inside. I'm probably going to try to drive the race on the inside. And that's what I did. So really, I had no pressure coming to me as far as anybody really getting on my bumper this whole entire race. There was no need for me to change what I was doing, so I got a lot of practice driving on the inside. It was I got used to it. It's so in the future, I mentioned this in one of my an older video, maybe like a year and a half old. It pays to go out and drive outside of what the fastest or normal line would be, because when you make a pass on somebody, typically you don't get to do it staying in the line. You've got to get out of it. You've got to find a place to drive where people aren't typically driving and be fast enough through it and know what's going to happen well enough that you don't, crash or, jeopardize, your position. So when I went out of practice and I drove on the inside, I realized, this, I got used to it. So I knew what the kart was going to do. I knew how well it would stick going around the corners, with a different, entrance angle and things like that. So I'm still maintaining a pretty, to me, this is a comfortable cushion. They would have to either get very fast all of a sudden, or I would have to make a big error. And the B configuration, I mean, once you get fairly practice on it, it's somewhat easy. It's not overly technical. It doesn't put a lot of strain, on your body or anything like that to go through. That little zigzag section there will jostle you around a little bit, but nothing too bad. So for this, for this race with the B configuration, I'm kind of on autopilot right now. Keeping everything tight. I go around. I don't really hug it 100% on the curb going into the turn I'm about to hit. But I stay off the curb just a little bit, but I always try to touch the curb when I come back around on the outside of it, or the exit of it. The sky's looking cool as the video progresses. I think when it started, it wasn't quite, just for whatever the exposure, however the camera settings, are. The sky looked a little washed out at the beginning of the video, but now it looks kind of cool, and you can tell it's a little bit cloudy. The weather had called for potential rain in the evening, so we were, like I said, under the gun to try to get this knocked out. And I believe we made it through the whole entire evening. There was no real rain at the track. Nobody had to run, rain tires. Unfortunately, for me on the way home, I decided to pull off and have a little Skyline chili. And if you're not from the Cincinnati area, it's kind of a Cincinnati hometown thing. It's a Greek-based chili, and it's served on top of a big pile of spaghetti noodles. I get a three-way, so that would be spaghetti noodles, the Skyline chili, and then crazy amounts of finely shredded cheddar cheese on top. And you can turn it into a four-way by either adding onions onions or beans. And if you want to make it a five-way, you add onions and beans. The chili is also good on their coney dogs, but I almost always just get a three-way. So anyways, I had a celebratory three-way on the way back home, and that time delay about 5 minutes from my house. The skies opened up, and I didn't have my go-kart covered with a cart cover, so, my cart got drenched. Now, with it not running, it wasn't sucking in any water or anything like that. I changed the oil before I fired it up. So to the best of my knowledge, and I have run a race, at the time that I'm editing this video, I have also already completed race 6, and I had no motor issues in race 6. But I just, on this video, I just swap back and forth so you can see, some of the rates of closure. The 22 did bring that gap in just a little bit. I feel like he finished the lap, or he finished the race about maybe like half a second behind me, so at times it might have got up to a second. I'd have to consult the results, but I'm going from memory on this. But as you can see, I got the white flag, I flipped it around. So in my life, I've only won one other race. That was last season. I have won a handful of heats by now, but for the full event, winning the finals, I've only been victorious in one, and I am about to pull off my second victory, first of the season. At this, this is race 5 in the season right now, and this will be my 4th podium. So I had 1 5th place finish, and this would have been my first win, and I believe I had 2 third places and a 2nd place. So 4 podiums out of 5, and then I think on the one that I didn't get on the podium was the 5th. So I'm in 2nd place in the points, still in 2nd place at the end of this race, but I closed the gap. The 86, who is my closest competition in points, finished 2 positions behind me. Have a good one. We'll watch for the next video.